Okay, everybody, I am live here on College Football Saturday. We'll give people a little time to get in here. Just make sure. Okay, I'm going to tweet out the link. And then we'll get started here. We will get started here with watching a little college football sort of between the evening or the afternoon games and the evening games. So we will just give people a minute to get in, and then if you want ask any questions, I'm happy to do that. All right, so it's been a really interesting college football Saturday. As we're looking right now, Alabama is up 11 on Ole Miss with 3 minutes to go. It looks like Ole Miss is going to try to go for this onside kick here. Ooh, and they got it. So this game's not quite over yet, but look, really strong performance by Alabama to come back. They were down 3 touchdowns early in the game. I thought they were going to lose. I mean, it just looked like one of those days where Ole Miss is getting every break. They're getting calls. They're getting bounces. In Alabama, there's nothing they can do about it. But they turned it around. I mean, they've got a long way to go offensively, and that's scary when you look at Alabama because they're good now, but you can just tell by watching Jalen Hurts and how he passes the ball, they're still very rudimentary. He can get so much better. This is a tremendous team. We'll see what Ole Miss gets done here. I'm going to go ahead and post this link. So what do you guys want to talk about? Happy to answer any questions today. Touchdown Ole Miss, wow. This is wacky. This is absolutely wacky. Well, so they'll have, honestly, they don't even have to go for an onside kick. 2:51 to go with 3 timeouts. They could absolutely play defense if they wanted to. Wow, this is unbelievable. We'll keep an eye on this. Folks, the big story of the day, now obviously pending this game going final, is Louisville. I mean, look, I knew they were good. I knew they could certainly beat Florida State. I did not see 63-20 coming. I don't think anybody saw that coming. I mean, this performance by Lamar Jackson and Louisville, in my mind, makes them absolute national championship contenders. 100%. This is not where I thought we'd be 3 weeks into the season. I mean, this is going to leave a mark for FSU. FSU, a team I picked to win the national championship in the preseason, they're not out of it, but they need to win the ACC, and now they've got a much tougher job. Now, I'm watching this 2-point conversion here. This game is wild. This is like one of these 4.5-hour marathon games. Okay, so Bob asked, will FSU bounce back from Louisville or were they exposed? It's a great question, and I don't know. I mean, look, obviously teams are not supposed to lose by 40-something points if they can win a national championship. It's not supposed to happen. But I think part of it was just Louisville was just so freaky good and on their game today, and Florida State didn't play well, and then it just snowballed. They got behind. It just sort of snowballed on them. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, I don't think this is a repeatable type of performance for Louisville. I think if they played the game again 10 times, I mean, it wouldn't go the way it went today. But I think clearly Louisville's awesome. Louisville's great. Now, they're going to have to keep it up as they go through the season. People are going to have more film. They're going to scout Lamar Jackson, try to figure out what different defenses to stop him. I think FSU is good enough to bounce back, but they got to get healthy. I mean, I thought you saw it today. Losing Derwin James is just a crushing blow for that defense. Like, you need that guy on the field. He's not only playing at such an important position at safety, but he's just so talented. You can move him around. You can use him in packages that makes it hard to defend. Or I'm sorry, it makes it hard to sort of figure out where he's going to be, where the pressure's coming from. He can cover. It's pretty crazy. So I think that maybe I even underestimated just how big of a loss that was going to be. All right, now Ole Miss is going for the onside kick here. as I turn around to watch this. Nope, they're just kicking it off. Okay. So Alabama's going to need to get a couple first downs, or they may be totally on their heels. This is crazy stuff. Someone asked me on Twitter, where does Oregon go from here? So another interesting storyline that has come up today is this Oregon situation. They lose the game at Nebraska. They lose by 3, and Mark Helfrich, their coach, decided to go for 2-point conversion after the first touchdown, and then he just kept chasing it. They ended up 1 for 5 on 2-point conversions. So they left 4 points on the field. They lost by 3. That's the kind of thing that can absolutely get a coach fired. I'm not saying he's going to get fired, but Oregon's dropped. I mean, I sort of compare him to Larry Coker. You know, Larry Coker came in after Butch Davis, won big early, and then the program dipped. You look at Mark Helfrich, they got to that championship game his first season, or second season, and then it sort of they took a serious dip. They weren't that great last season. They still got to the Alamo Bowl. You know, this year it looks to me like they're not as good as Stanford. They're not as good as, you know, maybe even Washington. So I think you're seeing them sort of on the decline a little bit. All right, 2nd and 7 now for Alabama. I started this Facebook Live early because I figured this game was over. People would want something to do before they get into the night games. And now all of a sudden, onside kick, touchdown. Well, that's a big first down for Alabama. Big first down. Ole Miss is going to have to start using timeouts here pretty soon. All right, Everett says, who imagined at the start of the season Louisville-Houston could become pivotal to the playoff hunt? I mean, look, it could. Look, that game is in November. It is far down the road. I think it's hard to sort of project right now how that's going to go because Louisville's still got to go to Clemson. They're still going to have games in the ACC that are tough. Houston's going to have games in the AAC that are tough. I mean, I know that everyone thinks just because they beat Oklahoma that they're just going to just roll through everybody in their conference. And I'm here to tell you it's not that simple. I mean, there are teams in that league that on a given day can beat them. Last season, they were undefeated and lost to UConn. So it's hard to go undefeated. It's hard to show up every single week. And Houston, frankly, can't afford even one slip-up. And maybe even if they go undefeated, it may not be enough. Just because the system is set up to favor power conference teams. So I'm not sure. I think they need Oklahoma to keep winning. Big game coming up tonight. That game's been delayed by weather. They certainly need to keep winning themselves, and they need Louisville to keep winning to make that game important. So Ole Miss has used 1 timeout, 2 minutes to go. If Alabama gets 1 more first down, the game is pretty much over. Alabama, 328 rushing yards. I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't necessarily. Hurts is a guy who is still got so much more room to grow in the passing game, and yet he can run the ball. He can do some things, but his decision making, he misses open guys at times. Like, he's just going to get so much better. He's a true freshman. It's sort of hard to reconcile. You know, I was really impressed with Miami today. They went to Appalachian State, beat them 45-10. I thought that was a very impressive performance in sort of a trap game. Appalachian State's all fired up. Miami just went in there and rolled them. I think that's a good sign for Mark Richt and those guys. They looked like a well-coached football team. And I think when you talk about the complaints that Miami fans have had, it's that under Al Golden, they just weren't a good-looking, well-coached football team. All right, that's another first down for Alabama, or very close to it. And that's going to be just about it. If they didn't give them the first down spot. North Dakota State beats Iowa 23-21. I mean, wow. North Dakota State has won 5 straight games versus FBS teams. And I guess it's a surprise. It's not a surprise to me. I mean, North Dakota State, this is what they do. I wrote a little thing on usatoday.com. I don't know why you would schedule them. All they do is they're FCS. They just keep winning. Who do you like in the OSU-Oklahoma game? All right, I'll tell you after this play. 3rd and inches. 3rd and inches. If Alabama gets this first down, the game's over. I like Oklahoma, actually. Now, I could be totally wrong here. I mean, Ohio State, great players, great talent coming in. They've looked good the first 2 weeks, but they haven't played anybody. And it's a young team, and sort of a young team going into that environment on the road, I'm just a little bit iffy about. And you look at Oklahoma, I think they got exposed by Houston. I think they come back. They've had 2 weeks to work on things, to fix what was wrong. I like Oklahoma to bounce back and sort of rise from the dead in this game. That's sort of their MO. But I could be wrong. So we'll see here. 3rd and inches for Alabama. First down, game over. Yeah, that'll be it. So Alabama wins. That's a really good win for Alabama. I mean, crazy game. They do nothing but play crazy games against Ole Miss for whatever reason. It's just one of those matchups. Let's see what else happened early today. Michigan State or Notre Dame? Estelle asks, Michigan State or Notre Dame? I lean toward Notre Dame. And, we don't know that much about Michigan State yet. Michigan State played only one game. They weren't that impressive. They had a week off. I mean, obviously, with D'Antonio being the great coach he is, I would expect that they'll have fixed a lot of things. But I think Notre Dame is good enough to win a national championship or at least get to the playoff. I'm not off their bandwagon at all because they lost that game to Texas. But they need to stick with the right quarterback, and that was Malik Zaire. I'm sorry. It was not Malik Zaire. It was Deshaun Kaiser. They played Malik Zaire way too much in that Texas game, and I think it cost them. I think now that they have established that Kaiser is the guy, I think that's going to help them going forward. I think they win tonight. Blake asks, South Florida or Florida State? Okay, this is really interesting, and I noted this. Florida State is going into a really rough stretch coming off this 40-point loss. They play at South Florida next week in Tampa. South Florida is a very explosive offensive team. They're averaging like 47 points per game through 3 games this season. Florida State needs to get their act together. And without Derwin James, today just made me worry for what they're going to look like going forward defensively. This is a great opportunity in a game I would say that USF can win. I don't know if I'm ready to pick them, but they can play in this game without question. And it's a great opportunity for them. Florida State, they got this game, and then they got North Carolina, and then they have to go to Miami. The Seminoles are in this stretch here. They can play their way out of it. They can play their way out of the conference, out of the national title in the next couple weeks, easily. We'll see. If they can win those games, I think they're back on track, and then we'll see what they do against Clemson. Any other questions, feel free to ask. I'll roll through a couple other more. Michigan, they were down 21-7 early against Colorado. They came back to win 45-28, sort of routine. Wisconsin had a scare from Georgia State. They ended up winning 23-17. Tennessee didn't look really good again, but they got by Ohio 28-19. They lost Cam Sutton to injury. It sounds like he's going to be out for a while. That's a really bad deal for the Vols because Cam Sutton's one of the best players in college football. Justin asked about the Hurricanes. I mentioned this earlier. I was really impressed with Miami because that's one of those games where they could have easily gone on the road, different sort of atmosphere. It's not something they're used to go to a place like App State, and they took care of business. Like they just went in there. They were up 21-0 after the first quarter. They rolled. They never let their foot off the gas. Brad Kaya looked very good. I really liked what I saw from Miami. I don't know if they're good enough to win the conference, if they've got enough talent, but that was very, very promising signs. They look like a very organized, well-coached football team for the first time in a while. Penn State, nice win over Temple, a game James Franklin really needed. How about the Huskers? 3-0, Casey. Look, if you're a Huskers fan right now, you have a right to be excited. You've been down for a long time. You're out all the negativity of that Bo Pelini era is gone. You brought in Mike Riley. It was a bad year last year. 5-7. You shouldn't have made a bowl game, but you did. You won it. So you're 6-7. You come back this year. I think there was some pressure on Mike Riley to show some progress, and that was a great win for them today. I mean, huge to beat Oregon. I think I said the first time since 2001 they had beaten a non-conference ranked team. So great job by Nebraska to go in there and hold those guys off. Really, really, really impressive. South Carolina, nice win for them today over East Carolina. 2015, Will Muschamp's doing a nice job. It's early. We'll see what happens in SEC play, but absolutely, I like the attitude. And then on the SEC network, I'm going to go turn on Missouri, Georgia. Missouri up 7-0 on the Bulldogs. Pretty interesting. All right, so that's going to wrap up this Facebook Live for today. Just wanted to sort of talk about the early games, and now we got the night games coming up, so it should be a lot of fun. And Dan Wolken, USA Today Sports, and we'll do this again soon.